But it's just part 2. Get ready to listen to some creepy stories. Enjoy.
Yes, I Am the Shipper told a tale of one of the scariest events in his life. It happened around Christmas when he was 5 years old. His grandparents were babysitting him, and he told them that kids in his class didn't believe in elves, so he was going to catch one on camera. His grandma said that he might spot one in the backyard, so he looked out the back window, and he did spot something red near the gates. His grandma encouraged his imagination. As the child clocked the red blotch, it came near. It was no longer a blotch, but a short, bald being in a red hat and suit with mean-looking eyes. He inched closer, and the child shouted for his grandma and pointed the figure out to her. I remember her face contorting into one of slight horror, and she pulled me back from the curtains, he writes. His grandma said, "That's nice, dear, but elves don't like seeing children, because the children can't see Santa and his helpers." She closed the curtains, locked the door, and the next time the OP looked, the man had vanished. Was he an elf or a short-statured man trying to burglarize the house? I guess we'll never know. Number 14, Mall Santa. Redditor, Story for No Sleep, submitted this story 6 years ago. The OP's paternal grandmother was...
Yeah, pause it.
Every video, we're going to react to what we're going to say about that video.
Yeah, at the end.
Dude, that was creepy. Kid spotted a big elf, but it wasn't.
I know, we're gonna do that at the end. Alright? Here we go.
Visiting in December 1985 when she was 6 months old. They were going to bring the baby to see Santa at a local mall for her first Christmas, but as they were preparing to leave that night, Grandma suddenly got cold feet. She felt a strong feeling of foreboding and begged everyone not to leave the house. Thankfully, they listened, because not even an hour later, a plane landed into the roof of the very mall they were about to visit. The Sun Valley Mall sent blazing roof material raining down upon those parents and children who were waiting in line to see Santa. The scene was horrible.
Oh no!
And some passed away far too soon.
Kill him, Angel! Kill the red guy! Kill Rusty!
I was supposed to be in that line at exactly the time the plane hit, she writes.
Angel, kill the Rusty!
No one knows how Grandma sensed it, but I'm sure they were very relieved that they never left the house. Number 13, Christmas Ghost. The following scary Christmas story was submitted by Arthur H. to the Stir.cafe mom. Arthur was very close to his mom, who passed away when he was only 17. He moved away from his hometown that year. 5 years later, he married Karen, and a year after that, they were pregnant. They lived in a small bungalow with a fireplace that they lit every night. On Christmas Eve of that year, the fire was glowing. The gifts were beneath the tree, and days before, one of the strings of flashing lights on the tree had frozen in place. Before midnight, the fire diminished suddenly to a small ember glow, and the frozen lights began to flash. While the other flashing strings stopped, the temperature in the room plummeted. Arthur and his wife were sitting on the floor, and in the lazy boy chair sat Arthur's beaming mother. Arthur's wife also saw her, though she'd never met her. The ghost just sat there smiling, as though she was basking in the glow of her son and his new family. She never said a word. At midnight, the fire roared in the fireplace again, and the flashing lights froze, while the other strings started up. His mother's ghost vanished, and the lights did not flash ever again. Number 12, Emergency Room. Brian Moyland of Gawker tells of this Christmas horror story which began a few days before Christmas at his parents' house. He felt that something was wrong, and he warned his mother that his appendix may burst. She thought he was crying wolf, so she ignored him. She was one of those Christmas freaks who adores Christmas more than life itself, and she didn't want him to put a damper on it with any real problems. So Christmas Day came around, gifts were opened, Christmas dinner was eaten, and suddenly Brian felt a shooting sensation in his side. When it was more than he could bear, his mother finally took him to the hospital. The doctor found that Brian was passing a kidney stone. They waited too long to take him in, and so all he could do was wait it out. Although Brian could have held a grudge against his mother for years, he figures she served her time. The moral of the story, Christmas is not more important than your kid's kidneys. Number 11, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Redditor Disner submitted this 100% true Christmas story in 2014. The OP was an only child and his single mother often worked nights, which meant he was home alone a lot. On Christmas Eve one year, when the OP was 12, his mom was working overtime. The OP thought it was a great idea to watch some scary movies that night. Suddenly, at 1:30 in the morning, a man banged on the front door saying, "Ho ho ho, let Santa Claus in." The Santa Claus knew the OP's name and began beating on the door violently and trying to open it. Disney bathroom window to scope out the so-called Santa. As the man's voice grew angrier, he couldn't see the man.
Alright, hurry up. Ho ho ho.
I wouldn't see that.
Ho ho ho.
Why don't you use the silent thing, the new dance thing you got?
What?
The silent?
Yeah, I haven't used it yet.
Can you make the guy pop out?
No.
But what if that's not what the MT wants? What if that's not what the MT wants?
But there were no strange cars around. "Let me in, Disner, or I'll have to put you on the naughty list," the man said, asking if he wanted presents while kicking and slamming against the door. Luckily, a neighbor pulled into the drive opposite, and the man stopped banging and ran down the street. The OP went out and asked his neighbor if he saw the man, and he said he had seen him but didn't realize what was happening. If he hadn't shown up in that moment, it's safe to say that something nightmarish was about to happen. Number 10, Christmas Shopper. There's no bigger nightmare than Christmas shopping. And Redditor and fellow YouTuber Killer Orange Cat has plenty of holiday horror stories to tell. One of them happened when he was employed as an assistant manager at a bookstore. He was closing one night, and he allowed the workers to head home. He was in the back office, completing the books, when the doorbell rang. When he went to see who was at the door, he was met by a man dressed in dark clothing with a hood on. The man said, "Hey dude, I left my wallet in your store. Can you open the door and let me come in and get it?" He said he looked for the wallet for him, but the guy said he wasn't sure where he left it. He asked if he'd bought anything, and the guy answered in the affirmative, which suggested that he had his wallet on him at checkout. According to the OP, the guy was taken aback when he said this, and he pulled his cell phone out like he was going to make a call. To whom? Who knows? He became furious and insistent, but the OP stood his ground and said he couldn't let him in so late. The man said he'd call the police and claim that he had taken the wallet. The OP responded that all he the man's information. The man started shaking the door when the OP himself said he called the police and headed over to the register to do just that. The hooded man bolted, figuring the ordeal was over. He spent 2 more hours finishing his work, locked up, and then headed out. As he was approaching his car, he saw someone hiding in the back seat. It was the hooded man. The OP raced back to the store with the hooded man chasing him and just managed to get inside before the man arrived. He wrestled the door away from the hooded man and the man took off, but he quickly called the police and they were able to take the suspect into custody. Number 9, The Returned Relative. A contributor to ThoughtCo by the name of V, Paige offered up this tale of Christmas fear when visiting her aunt's house on a North Dakota reservation. Old Paige was doing a puzzle with her aunt and uncle while everyone else was scattered around the house. Her cousin was scheduled to arrive home sometime around midnight. When her cousin arrived, she saw Paige at the table through the window with her uncle on the opposite side. The cousin also saw a person in the corner of the room and another standing to the left of Paige, petting her hair lovingly like a mother would her child's. She entered the house and asked who had been standing in these 2 places. When Paige answered that no one had, the cousin said, "Yeah, there was someone standing next to you. It looked like your mom and she was playing with your hair." The cousin continued to insist that someone had been there. The cousin's mom had passed away several years earlier. about a week prior to Christmas, so they all began to consider that maybe her ghost is who the cousin saw standing over Paige's shoulder.
Andrew,
So they
get
all
over.
began to consider that maybe her ghost is who the cousin saw standing over Paige's shoulder, but who was standing in the corner? That's a Christmas mystery.
Get 'em.
Number 8, Christmas Church Ghost. The author of this true scary
Watch out.
Christmas story goes by the name of Paulina. Paulina wasn't the type to believe in the paranormal, but after this incident happened on Christmas, she became a believer. She was in Samoa in her mother's small village for a visit
Angel.
one Christmas. She was only a knee high, so she tailed after her older cousin during their
Wait,
nighttime
Angel, watch
game of
out.
hide and seek. All the village kids would play this game in a graveyard. The church lights shone dimmingly on the gravestones, so there were plenty of shadows to hide in. Paulina was hidden in one of these shadows. When the boy, who was it, came to find them, everyone grew quiet. The boy went into the church to look for
Angel,
his
watch out.
brother, who he thought was inside. Waited
Ah,
and
they
waited
killed
and
me.
waited for the boy to come and seek the hiders. Someone finally went in to check on him and discovered that he fainted. They ran to his parents' house and brought them back to the church, where the boy was still stiff as a board on the ground. The boy later told them that
You wanna
he
do solid
entered
gold
the
or duo?
church and spotted a boy standing in front of the altar. The boy's back toward him, thinking it was his
Duo or solid
brother
gold?
hiding in the church. The seeker ran towards him and
Solid gold or duo?
Oh, you pick it.
Nathan,
Hmm.
what you want, man? What you want, man?
Let's do it too.
Yeah, that's right.
tapped his shoulder. When he did, the ghostly boy vanished into thin air.
Hold up,
That's when
Darren.
the seeker fainted. They found out the boy's brother
Bring him.
hadn't been in the graveyard at all. He'd been at home. The group never played in that graveyard again. What really scared us, Paulina writes, was that the boy who fainted has been ill since that night, and he still hasn't recovered to this day. Whoever it was in the church must have been pretty mad that we kids had disturbed him. Number 7, Father Christmas. Santa is a jolly man to most, but to 14-year-old Magda, he is frightening. Magda is Polish, and when she was 7, living in Poland with her family, she couldn't fall asleep on Christmas Eve because she was too excited for Santa's arrival. She finally went to bed around midnight, but she still couldn't fall asleep. She was going crazy and kept tossing and turning, as many youngsters do. With the delight of Christmas ahead of them, her family was visiting relatives, and in the guest room she was staying in, a large wardrobe stood. She stared at it for a time, which is when she saw an image in the mirror. In her own words, I began to see what vividly looked like Father Christmas. The reflection was of a man dressed in red, white-bearded, the whole works. Magda stared at him for what she felt was an eternity. She was frozen and holding her breath.
Angel, stop
That's
breathing
when
so
her dad
loud.
walked in to wish her good night. Fear was plastered
You
all
keep
over her
putting your
face,
nose or something up
and
to the
she
freaking
pointed
mic.
at the wardrobe, where she still saw Santa. Her dad couldn't see what she was pointing out, and just looked at her as though she was crazy. Magda began to cry and raced to the kitchen,
What?
where she told everyone who gathered what she'd seen. They said it
I
was
don't
her
know.
overactive imagination, and she was just too excited about Christmas. To this day, Magda wonders, was it really Father Christmas,
Hold on, wait
or
a minute.
was it an evil spirit trying to get through to her by pretending to be him? Number 6, Here We Come a Wassailing. This is a Christmas carol with a truly unfortunate origin story behind it. The UK version of the song has the carolers requesting some coinage and drink from their hosts as they carol from door to door, all in good fun and cheer, right? Wrong. The wassailing tradition has some darker origins that date back to feudal England. English lords ran large estates with plenty of peasants serving them. Wassailing was a way
Kill.
for the lords and ladies of these large manors to provide some little food and drink to their underlings during winter, essentially in order to stamp out resent and rebellion from the lower classes. Here We Come a Wassailing itself was specifically sung by young orphans and beggars on the English streets during the holiday season as they looked for handouts. So, When you're out caroling this holiday season, consider the origins of this sad song, and instead of accepting cocoa and cookies from your host, start in number 5, Poltergeist. Caitlin Williams submitted the following true scary Christmas story to ThoughtCo. She and her parents lived in the small town of Bluffton, Indiana, in a house that was going on 90 years old. Caitlin lived there for 12 years and always sensed that she was being watched. There seemed to be another presence always at home. It was the Christmas season, and a friend was over. They were watching television when the temperature seemed to plummet and the Christmas tree started to shake. The shaking was so disruptive that ornaments fell from the tree. Needless to say, the girls were scared out of their minds. They raced upstairs and hid on her bed, Caitlin's white cat accompanying them. In the dark hall outside of her bedroom door, Caitlin saw a tall white figure sweep through the hallway. Her friends saw the same thing. Caitlin developed a chronic illness years later, and frightening things began to occur in the house again. She thinks it had something to do with her illness. After coming away twice, I began to be able to sense things that no one else could, she writes. She also started feeling the same sensation of being watched. I ignored it this time, and the illness went into remission. The paranormal activity ceased again. But when she turned 18, the paranormal came barging back into her life. She heard voices, like a badly tuned television at strange hours. Then she began to see shadowy figures. Most were shaped like humans. Her cat seemed to sense them too. On one occasion, the normally calm cat began to hiss viciously at a dog-shaped shadow that raced down the hallway. She also started to feel a dark aura blanketing the entire house. It felt heavy and wouldn't go away. Lights would sometimes turn on and off of their own accord. Invisible figures would sit on a chair in her bedroom. She could hear them recline and see their imprints on the chair. When they finally moved out of the house, Caitlin felt lighter. She started to think that maybe it wasn't the house, but rather her own meddling in the paranormal that had welcomed creepy shadows into her life. But then she returned to the house to collect her things one night, and she saw a dark figure sprint through the yard. She drove off and never returned. Number 4, the Huron Carol. Most of us sing Christmas carols with glee, but one Canadian favorite entitled "'Twas in the Moon of Winter."
Give me a second, hold up. I need to take off my sweater. My sweater, yeah. Yeah, I'm getting really hot. Yeah, these stories. I tell you, man. Oh, geez, Rick.
These 4 chicken nuggets, right?
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, we're eating some chicken nuggets, then. I love me some chicken nuggets. Some chicken nuggets. Oh, jeez, Rick. Oh, my God. Are we doing solid? Are we doing duo or solid gold? Oh, my bad, because I just got a, what's it called? Minigun. Yeah. Yeah, I was like, why? But Dad, I wanted an AR. I don't care, son. Oh, jeez, Rick. What's going on? I'm yelling, oh my God. I'm yelling, Tinder. Better move, or you're gonna die. Med kit. What's going on? What? Oh no, not yet.
Time, or the Huron Carol, has a dark history as one of the earliest Christmas carols written in North America. If not the earliest, the Huron Carol was a collaborative project between the Huron natives and a French missionary in the 17th century. The missionary traveled to Quebec in 1625, where he stayed to minister near Lake Huron in a wigwam. He lived off and on with the natives there for 16 years. While he was there, the Huron tribe began a battle with the Iroquois. 2 other
I don't want no more chicken
missionaries
nuggets.
were captured and snuffed out.
Yeah, they can have them.
Managed
Oh, you can have
to
some.
stay afloat. He wrote the Huron Carol with the Huron tribe in 1643.
Hey, Angel.
Sadly, in 1649, he was captured by the Iroquois. He was gruesomely martyred, which included a mock baptism with boiling water. Number 3, blinding light. One true scary Christmas story that actually happened was told by Scarlett on the Stir.Cafe Mom. It was Christmas 2008. The day began like any other normal Christmas might in Bloomington, Indiana. Presents were opened, dinner was served to friends and family, and guests left around 5 p.m. Apart from Scarlett's sister and her brother-in-law, as they shared the house with her. At around 7 p.m., Scarlett took her dog Toby to her bedroom and shut the door to go to sleep. She thought about what a lovely Christmas they just had, but wished her departed brother and mother could have been there. As she was falling asleep,
I see him, Angel, I see him!
the door click. It was in the room, and she waited for her sister to speak. As she assumed
Angel, I'm not just watch out!
something, the kitchen lights were left on, as well as the Christmas lights. So
They're up there on the roof!
her doorway would be well lit. She lifted her head.
I know what, I have an idea!
Pushing the blankets back, a bright, blinding light hit her square in the eye socket. Turn out the light, she said. You're blinding me. The light shut off and the door latched. Scarlett tapped on her bedside.
Oh my god, Angel, watch out!
Looked around the room. Toby scrambled off
Help
the bed
me!
and calmly walked through the door.
What are you doing?
Scarlett went to take Toby outside.
Anita, help me! What?
Both her brother-in-law and sister were in bed.
Oh jeez.
No one was in the hallway. No one was in the living room. So what was that? Who blinded her? As Scarlett writes it, I would like to think it was my brother's spirit stopping by to say Merry Christmas. I still think of you too. Number 2, Krampus.
It's almost done.
Santa Claus and his workshop elves are Christmas characters right in the season. But did you know that some countries commemorate Christmas characters that will have you dreading more than cold during the holidays? Germany is one of those countries, and Krampus is who you should be dreading. The name Krampus has its roots in the Germanic for claw. The demon character preceded Christmas altogether, having originated in a time before Christ. Today, however, he is known as the anti-Santa, and basically Santa's evil sidekick. Traditionally, while those who were good were given treats by Santa, those who were more naughty than nice were treated to a strong-handed Krampus whipping with a stick. And if they were horrible little human beings, they were taken by Krampus and either thrown in a river or taken to his lair. And who knows what happened to them there. As the times became politically correct, many countries...
Angel, I looked at the video, and there was a picture of a fat boy getting taken by Krampus. A fat kid, for real.
Horrible little human beings. They were taken by Krampus and either thrown in a river or taken to his lair.
Wait, is the live stream still going?
Yeah, live stream's still going.
Was Krampus actually real?
That's the thing. People believe he's real. If you believe Santa's real, then you can believe that he's real. Krampus, like...
Can I say something? Hey, do you know Santa and Mr. Claus and Mrs. Claus?
Yeah.
They are? Your parents.
Oh, jeez.
They're what?
What if that was the truth? I will talk about it at the end.
And who knows what happened to them there. As the times became more politically correct, many countries...
I don't move! Stop, dude!
Right where he probably should be. Austria, for example, got rid of the creature in the 50s, saying it wasn't healthy to plant this monster in children's heads. Other places, however, like Lissandro, Italy, for example, still celebrates Krampus, even going so far as to dress up young men to chase little children around. They make a night of it, having a drink with the adults afterwards. Krampus even has his very own holiday celebration.
Jesus!
Cards in some places, as one real-life witness tells it.
Oh my God!
Childhood experiences.
Move, Angel, move! Get over here, get over here!
Krampus. As she wrote it, the men dressed like Krampus when she was young, jumped fences and ran through backyards, and Krampus just kept coming after them. When he catches you, He usually gives you a pretty good whipping around your legs. Christmas never sounded so scary. Before we get to number 1,
Let's go.
my name is Chills, and I hope you're enjoying my narration. If you're curious about what I look like in real life, then go to my Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT and tap that follow button to find out. I'm currently doing a super poll on my Instagram.
I know, one more left.
Ghosts are written to my most recent photo. Tap the like button.
Kill this kid.
If you don't, DM me saying why. When you're done,
he's gone.
Right back to this video to find out the number 1 entry. Also, follow me on Twitter at
Angel, get over here.
because that's where I post video updates. It's a proven fact that generosity.
Oh, Angel, you want to scoop the hour?
So if you're generous enough to hit that subscribe button and the bell beside it, then thank you. This way, you'll be notified of the new videos we upload every Tuesday and Saturday. Number 1, Gryla. Germany is not the only culture with some crazy scary Christmas creatures. Iceland also celebrates a lady ogre by the name of Gryla. Like Krampus, Gryla doesn't like naughty children. In fact, she eats them for dinner.
Oh!
Describes Gryla as follows.
Jesus.
Gryla has 3 heads and 3 eyes in each.
Oh my!
Horribly long, curved fingernails. Icy at the back of the head. Her ears dangle down to her shoulders and are attached in front. She has a beard on her chin that is like knotted yarn on a weave with tangles.
Oh my god.
While her teeth are like burned rocks in a grate. As with Krampus, Icelandic soon came to their senses and decided not to frighten all the children of Iceland out of their wits. So they issued a decree outlawing Gryla from the land, or the tradition of her anyway. In fact, songs were written about Gryla, claiming she had passed away. Other songs, however, hint that she could return. Seems that Iceland doesn't want to eliminate her completely. Got to instill a little fear into the bad children. Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday. Or if you—
What? Yeah, no, it's time to talk. Time to talk. Yeah. I know. It was a girl, dude. It was a girl. It was like girl Krampus. Yeah, don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. Dude, but what the craziest thing was, they made up songs, right? That she was gone, and some people made up songs that she might come back. That's weird. That's messed up. Yeah. Oh, the Brady is back. I know. What's up, Dad? ¿Estás bien? One, two, Brady's come for you. 3, 4, you better lock your doors. 5, 6.
We haven't even jumped yet.
Fix my fart. Alright, time to play the next one.
Oh.
all of the following stories are from the Ask Reddit post.
Creepy stories.
Creepiest real life story.
Angel, if you hear crying, that's because it's my brother. His girlfriend broke up with him, okay? So, you know, it's messed up, so, you know, it's best we don't talk about that. Alright, let's go.
Link to this post is in the description below.
Yeah.
Number 15. In a cold winter
What?
night in a remote village from Quebec, Canada, me and my two brothers were asleep.
Just saying I got a scar, but, on YouTube. Dude, today, right now?
No, not today, right now. I think it was 2 days ago.
And that's, he's crying right now.
Yeah, I know. He's been, no, I think it was yesterday. He's been crying since yesterday. It's very messed up. I want that. Yeah, you better because you suck. Just kidding, little loser. Alright, I'm gonna keep playing the song.
We were 1, 3, and 6 years old. In the middle of the night, someone entered our house without knocking, walked around.
Wait, my bad. I didn't mention this. I do not own anything said by this YouTube channel. Everything said by Top 15 and Chills is theirs. I do not own anything of this channel that people are saying. These people who are talking are from a channel called Chills. I do not associate with them. Dude, he's crying. He's crying. Just. But I do not associate with them. Or I guess if you listen to them, you kind of, I don't know. But I do not associate with them. That I just listen to them, and I hope I don't get sued or anything, like a strike for listening to them. But all rights go to them. I do not own all these voice things. All right, good. All right.
Around and was talking to himself. Our house is 2 miles from the village in a rural area. My father woke up, went to the living room, and there the guy was. He had a car accident 1 mile from our house with his buddy who instantly died, and his scalp fell in front of his face. He was drunk and his body was frozen. He was speaking to himself, "I'm gonna die." The fact that his face was partially frozen might have...
Wait, Angel, you want this? You want my hunter rifle?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Or you can have the semi-auto. I really like the hunter rifle.
Screw you, I want that one.
I know, right? It's really good because the protection, you have to aim up, but when you shoot the hunter rifle at somebody, it goes directly at them.
Looks like it saved the world, because it saved the world, and hunting rifle looks like this that you aim.
I know, it looks really cool. Alright, let's go break the umbrella.
Look at this crossbow. I got a crossbow.
Alright, let's go break the umbrella.
saved his life, preventing him from losing too much blood. My father took him to the hospital that was 25 kilometers from our house by car. He did survive. To this day, my father is still blessed.
Oh, jeez.
Never woke up during that night with all the noise. Number 14. Last year, a guy came to my door at 9 o'clock at night. He knocked and I got my mom and she went out to see what was up. By the way, we live in a very rural area, so visits that late are extremely uncommon and strange. The guy talked to my mom about how he was opening a business, asked whether she liked American-made products, then handed her a Clorox container as a sample. He went back to his minivan and opened it to get a vacuum cleaner when my mom saw 5 other men sitting inside. She told me to run and get the police since we didn't have a landline. I couldn't find it, so I got my knife and stood around the corner. She threw the container outside and told them to get the hell off her property. They peeled out of the driveway and we never saw the car again. 2 months later, my mom found a single bearded guy putting filled garbage bags by the back door. She asked him what the hell he was doing and he responded by saying, "This is for your little girl." Again, she told him to get the hell out. Then we went through the bags. They were filled with garbage, dirty clothes, and empty tampons.
Angel, we need to smash these things.
13. When I was a kid, I was always the last kid picked up by the bus driver to go to school. One day I was waiting for the bus by myself and a bus with no kids pulled up. The bus driver smiled and told me to hop on. I just had a bad feeling. I said, "Where are the other kids?" He said, "We will go get them now. Just get on." He got more and more pushy but didn't do anything crazy. I kept just saying no and he shrugged and left. The real bus pulled up a few minutes later. I went to school and my parents didn't know until I mentioned it that night. Looking back, they were pretty worried. I remember them scrambling to make a few phone calls. Number 12. It was very early morning or late at night, whatever you want to call it. Around 5 a.m., still dark, my dad and brother and I were in the car driving to the mosque. On the way there, there's a dimly lit road with a forest on both sides and a bend that makes it difficult to see. Bear in mind, this isn't a residential area.
That was so cool.
Sidewalk, and the nearest intersection is a good kilometer either way. So we're driving, we get to this bend.
Oh!
Before it, we see a figure sort of waving us down. They were dressed kind of odd, but I figured it was some sort of running outfit. I don't want to say it was glowing or reflective because I don't fully remember, but it just made me assume that it was some sort of running outfit. Couldn't make out his face or anything about him other than his clothing. So he's waving us down dramatically. My dad slows down but doesn't really think anything of it. As we turn along the road, we see a car like right freaking there. It was just out of view before the curve in the road, so we would have definitely hit it if my dad didn't slow down. Dad stops, quickly checks on the driver of the car to make sure he's okay, then doubles back for some to thank the guy on the road who warned us. He drove back quite a ways, no one on either side of the road. It was about 60 seconds from initially seeing the guy to turning around to where he was, so no time for him to really go anywhere. Number 11. I lived in a small college town and my apartment complex was walking distance from the bar downtown area. One weekday night, I stepped out on my front porch to smoke a cigarette or two. I brought my textbook with me and sat down on the stairs while I smoked. A girl who I had never met but who lived one apartment over but down on the ground floor came home from downtown. She was by herself and you could tell from her walk that she had been drinking. She got in her apartment and barely closed the door before some guy who came out of nowhere knocked on her door. She opened it and I noticed he introduced himself, which was kind of weird because it was 2:30 a.m. Who comes to a strange girl's apartment at
James Bond, why are you joining my party, boy? Fire, why'd you leave?
Oh, my friend was here. He went outside for a little bit. Okay, but just say fire.
Wait, Fire, how did you join?
that time? So I decided
I just won.
No, dude, because my party's private.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy, that's creepy.
to stay outside and pay attention. They ended up talking for over
That's a fire.
What?
Don't talk, because we're hearing about videos. Keep your videos, okay?
At the end of every single video, we talk about the stuff. Yeah, we talk about it.
Okay, my cousin Nate.
10 minutes. She acknowledged how weird the situation was, but didn't know how to end the conversation. He would do the creepiest things, like how he reached up and stroked her hair at least 3 times, and would try and slowly inch his way closer to her and the door. I made a point of being loud with my textbook so he would know I was there, and he had disappeared as eerily as he had come. We called the cops, and days later, they had the girl and me sit with a sketch artist. As soon as the sketch was made public, floods of calls came in. The guy turned out to be a serial rapist who had followed lone girls home from bars and pretended to be a cab offering them rides. This girl got lucky just because she lived so close to the bar and he didn't have a chance to pull the cab routine. Number 10. Went camping with some friends on a hill a few kilometers out in the woods from one of the guy's houses. There's a few hiking / four in the area that lead up to the hill, so it's known by the locals. It was about midnight. We had a fire going and was just sitting around having a good time. Then the guy sitting opposite of me yells, "Who are you?" I turn around and there's this man about 6 feet tall staring at us from the edge of the woods with a big rock in his hand. One guy knocked an arrow in the composite bow we had. The guy across from me grabbed the hatchet and I pulled a knife off my belt. We had no clue what we were doing, but the guy wouldn't say anything to us. He eventually just backed into the woods. No sleep was had that night and we kept a very large
Andrew, where you going?
Number 9. I was in Minot, North Dakota with my band. Our tour van blew a head gasket and we were stuck there for a few days. Everyone
You
was
good?
tired on day 2, but I was wide awake. I walked for a bit and make it to some scummy bar. I'm obviously not from around there and no one is saying a word to me. After 2 beers,
Alright, I got him.
a tad nauseous and dizzy. I put my head on my hand and try to let it pass, but it keeps getting worse. Suddenly a voice says, "You'll feel pain tonight." I jump and look up and a tall
Oh my angel, stop moving!
man is walking to the bathroom, turns back and glances at me. I call my friends and get the fuck out of there. I slept for 12 to 13 hours and
I know, I see him.
loopy the next day. I was roofied. Number 8. This is the first of 2 instances. First, I was alone in the basement playing GTA 4 with my friends on my PC.
Okay, shh.
About 1
Guys, stop,
we're
stop.
having a blast, shooting RPGs and throwing grenades willy-nilly. Then I hear a sound that doesn't really fit with GTA. I figure it's not coming from my headset, so I take it off. The sound that's being made is coming from an old music box that we have. The last time it was used was probably 10 years ago, and this thing is just full-on blaring its song. I start chanting no, 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 and book it upstairs, leaving my friend on Skype pretty confused. My mom and dad are coming down from their room. My dad's equipped it with a baseball bat, and as you can imagine, it's hard to explain to him that it was not an intruder. My second instance was in the same basement. Now my basement has a main area, which most of our
Andrew, where the heck did he go?
then there's this unfinished
I see him, he's coming.
I'm sure the spirits dwell, but I digress. Anyway, this time I'm playing GTA 4 again with the same friend. It's about 1 a.m. and we decide to call it a night. It's at that point that I hear da in a little girl's voice from the bowels of the unfinished part of the basement. Now it's
Oh, snap!
around me.
Hold on.
Island of salvation at my computer.
No!
I'm so fucking done with the ghost that I say fuck it, fine, have the basement, and go upstairs and go to bed. There's a couple more instances of spooky ghosts, but not as scary as these two.
Invite.
Number 7. I live in
Hold on, I'm gonna invite Fire, and then we're gonna do solid gold. Yeah.
Whoever talks to
Okay. Fire, join.
I will.
Nine. I want to grab it. Let's keep going.
In Sydney, Australia, and this was probably just over a year.
What?
Okay, I'm good. I'm just telling my friends something.
Hey, Nanny. Nanny, I sniffed these bones. Alright, we're going. We're going. Oh, boy.
A year ago, I was driving with my girlfriend back to my home after going out for dinner at a friend's house, which is about 15 minutes
I put solid ups.
this one. Okay,
There you go.
okay, put the video.
away from my area called Watson's Bay. To get back to my place, you need to drive down into the valley near the
What?
harbor down a long, winding main road that progressively takes you down to the water.
What?
What's in my car?
What?
What's in my car?
Send your card?
Yeah, for sure.
So what?
Wanna go?
I don't want to go.
That's what you say.
Mom! Hold up, guys, I'll be right back. I might have to leave. Mom! Oh, boy, look at that. Look at the video. Just because I really don't want to go today. What's up?
Where's it going?
Yeah, I can stay. Just because I really don't. I don't know. Nobody's watching the live stream.
Are you gonna be the only one at your house?
No, but I think my dad's gonna be here.
Remember?
Oh, I get it. I get it.
Okay, put the video.
All right, let me get it on my phone. It's because I didn't get my phone yet.
It's about 1:30 or 2 a.m. and
There
we're
you go.
making our ways down the road and not really paying much attention. And she suddenly grabs my arm and gasps, which freaks me out already. As I'm looking around to see what the fuck is going on, we approach the roundabout and there's a man in medical-looking attire next to a woman in what looks like white pajamas with blood covering a lot of her clothing.
Oh,
Balls
jeez.
drop and instincts kick in as I speed up. It's quite a small roundabout, so you need to
Where's fire? Where's fire?
enough to turn left or speed up and get the fuck straight out of there. I go straight, and as we
Alright.
pass, the woman attempts to launch herself at my car as the man looks like stop her. We get home about 3 or 4 minutes later and we're both
Chug, chug.
basically scared shitless. Called the police to inform them of what we saw and just got a call back the next morning explaining how a woman had somehow run away from a mental home and was attempting to commit suicide using sharp objects and running onto main roads. The man was one of the first workers who knew her on the scene and apparently they managed to bring her back to where she lived. Heard nothing more after that. Number 6. We were partying at a usual party spot by the river and some dude
Or darn.
in the woods. He just kept saying weird shit like you gotta watch yourself down there. There's some really bad folks around here. And when we asked who he was, he just said, I'm nobody. We're all a little sketched out and basically told the guy to fuck off. A couple of days later, a girl went off the rope swing there and got really fucked up. Someone put fish hooks all over the bottom of the rope swing and it took chunks of flesh out of her leg. Later we found out that the dude was just a guy who lived nearby.
Oh.
Was a creepy drunk. He was totally harmless. There was a fucked up, probably inbred family that lived up the road that he would warn people about. About 5 years later, last year, they beat up some kid with a log and then kidnapped some girl at gunpoint and took her on a joyride. Number 5. When I was about 10, me and my family of 6 lived in an extremely small apartment.
Let's go.
Bedroom upstairs and then the living room. When I was tired of my siblings, I would sleep downstairs. One night I'm lying on the couch facing the front door and watching the sky through the window by the door when a face shows up in the window illuminated by
Darn.
I'm pretty relieved thinking it was maybe one of our druggy neighbors seeing if my parents were still awake when it showed up again. I try to scream, but when I do, nothing comes out, not a sound. The person then kicks in the door and walks in the room. He sees me, smiles, goes towards the kitchen. As he comes out of the kitchen with a knife, my dad makes it down the stairs and the guy books it out of there.
Oh, you want that?
Easily on couches to this day. Number 4. I was 6 or 7 years old in my parents' apartment and heading towards the kitchen.
Okay,
So I go towards the kitchen where my mom is talking on the phone. At the end
Okay,
of
let's go.
the door in front of me, I see the front door opening and halting because of the door chain holding it. I thought it was my dad. It was about 11 in the morning, so I think my dad will close the door and ring the doorbell for my mom to open up the chain. It was weird because I hadn't heard the key turning, except that nobody rings the door and an enormous hairy hand that definitely doesn't belong to my father tries to pull on the chain. Immediately, I understand it's a burglar. I rush to slam shut the door with my entire body while I whine a little no. So there's me slamming against the door with all my 7-year-old strength, panicked out of my mind, and then putting all my weight against the infernal piece of wood with a huge on the other side trying to keep the door open so we can pull
Kill him!
Fingers trying to grasp the end of the chain, and my
Alright, hold up.
clearly oblivious and we're 12 feet away in the next room. I turned to scream on my mother. I remember yelling muffled pieces of Mom, Mom, but she thinks I'm pays no attention. It's after my 7th or 8th scream when I was about to give up all hope when I heard my mom that she'll call her done something and she needed to check on me.
Oh, there's a spike trap. Who put that?
The door. My mom arrives and demands to know what I'm doing. I'm crying.
I got killed.
Not being able to.
Here, I'm gonna put a cozy campfire.
Point at the door, saying only burglar out or something to that effect. My mother, not getting the hint, comes over and tries to open the door to see what the fuss is all about, with me still pushing against it. As soon as I realized what she was about to do, I tried to push her away, crying, sobbing at her, "Don't open the door, there's a burglar outside." I had to fall on my ass, then on my knees, and beg her against trying to push me aside before she decided to change her mind and see through the people instead of opening the door. So she looks through it in a hurry and starts saying, "See, there's no one and I see her very annoyed face turning pale as a sheet all of a sudden. She grabs me and pushes me aside from the door and tells me to go get her phone. I rush to the kitchen. I heard her yell through the door, "I can see you crouching behind the door."
No! ¿Será que that? Oh. No, yo no voy a ir. I really don't want to go to church today.
Should we meme pad? I have 2 meme pads.
Alright, yeah. You should probably launch one. I mean, we could just walk in there. It would be a waste. I guess. To be honest, I don't want to go to church. Not today. Alright, meme pad. Well, I'm not leaving. Oh, there's a guy down here.
Did you die?
Ah, I killed him.
Okay.
Same we.
Both of you guys are already at 2 kills.
Yeah, I'm already at 2 kills too.
There's someone, he's just going up the hill right now. He's coming down, maybe.
Not gonna open, and I'm calling the police right this minute. The bastard was still behind the door, crouching as low as he could, not making a sound, so my mom would think no one was outside as she opened the door and he'd rush inside. My mom called the police, and after 5 minutes of my mom issuing threats through the door, we heard someone creeping away from the hallway and down the building entrance and outside the building door. My mom was white as a sheet, not making a sound or expressing anything
Alright, let's go.
throughout the whole ordeal. After about half an hour later, my father arrived, oblivious to the whole thing. When my mom told him about what happened, he went and got a new lock and a better door chain. The police arrived that afternoon.
Wow, something's going on.
Later, even though the police station is a 10-minute drive from our house, I don't think the burglar was ever caught. Number 3. My mom had been calling a lot.
Let's go.
It was my first semester away at college, and her husband had gone batshit insane. He hit her for the first time 4 nights before I moved out. She locked him out of the house.
Nope, I don't got no Chuck G.
In the middle of the night, he had driven away and hadn't seen him since. When I answered, she said she'd gotten a phone call while she was watching TV. The person on the other end of the line said he had been hired to kill her and her kids, but if she could make him a better offer, he wouldn't do it. He told her what TV show she was watching. He told her what dorm I lived in.
What?
He told her that my brother was...
Where are you going to church?
I'm not.
You're not?
Nope.
Oh, good. You can stay with us today, okay? This is the Cool Kids Club, okay?
It's the Skeeter.
Come on.
Skeeter Scotters. I have 3 kills.
I have 3 kills too. You have 0.
Yeah.
I have 3.
I got
Me too, little kid.
Oh, Sarah, I need a sniper tool.
I'm gonna sleep, guys.
Cause lo and behold,
What the hell, Daddy?
it's the
That's what I'm
king.
gonna say.
Lo and behold, it's the king.
What's the king, Marky?
Don't say that. Do not say that. Yeah, I'm still live streaming. I'm gonna send the video.
Was upstairs playing video games when he was supposed to be asleep. She ran upstairs. My little brother was playing video games in his room. She yelled at him
Oh,
to
jeez.
pack a bag. The person on the phone had hung up.
Okay, plus. Guys, I gotta go and I'll be back here. I'm gonna drop on myself.
Where you gotta go? Where you going?
Oh, jeez, I got killed. Alright, I gotta go anyways. I'm gonna end the live stream.
Where are you going?
To church. For about an hour. Yeah, I'm going to church for an hour. Let me end the live stream really quick. See you guys later.